and welcome to another episode of Industry Celebrities. My name is Kimberly Scott. Industry Celebrities is a podcast where I interview industry professionals in any industry and ask them questions about their industry or their passion. Plus, my guests will give us a little advice to their younger self. If you want to tune into other episodes, you can do so by going to ThatKimberly.com, and there you can choose which platform to listen to them, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google, YouTube, and now Amazon Alexa. And while you're there, please rate the podcast. Now that I have that out of the way, I like to introduce my friend, Joanie Stallo. Hi, Joanie. How are you doing?
Hi.
So tell the listeners a little bit about what industry you're in and how you got started in that industry. Just kind of give us a background.
Recap?
Yeah, background story.
Okay. So I am a licensed realtor and apartment locator, and I started in the multifamily industry when I was at the ripe young age of 17. Yep, when I was 17. When I was in high school, I had a really fun older girlfriend who worked for Lincoln Property Company, and I worshiped the ground that she walked on. So she always talked about all these amazing people that she met and how much fun she had at work, and I thought, oh my gosh, that would be great. It's kind of real estate related. I should do this. So we lived in Canyon Creek and Richardson, and there was a brand new apartment community around the corner going up that was student housing. And I think I literally stalked them every day for 6 months until they hired me. Like, I went by every single day.
You wanted that job.
I think on the way home from high school, actually, it was pretty funny. And initially they hired somebody else and that didn't work out. And so they ended up calling me back. They're like, we didn't think this was going to happen.
But you can have the job now.
Yeah, and I was thrilled. And so it was kind of like going to school and not going to school because it was student housing. So I was on UTD campus, and it was, I think 189 units or something crazy, and now they have over 10,000.
Yeah.
So it was the beginning of something really, really big. But
so you chose to get.
I did.
It was not you fell into it.
Yeah.
It was a choice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had
awesome.
some thought about it. It's interesting though, because they hired me in September and I didn't turn 18 until December. And we did a resident event for Halloween, and I'll never forget, my mom came to that party and she said, can you believe she's only 17? And I was like, Mom! But they freaked out. They're like, oh my God, she's not even legal. What have we done? It was really funny. So yeah, crazy.
The laws were different back then?
Yeah, apparently.
So obviously it worked out. So
Yeah.
you were on the leasing side and then went to, because when I met you, like however many, 15 years ago?
15 years ago, yeah.
You were at Brook Furniture. So did you went from...
So let's see, I did leasing for about 5 years for First Worthing, and then I got recruited into corporate housing. I was the first salesperson for Oakwood in Dallas when they first opened here, which is crazy. And then I did that for a bit, and then what else? One of my mentors in my career actually talked me into getting my real estate license. And he hired me for a company called Rental Safari, where we did great big group moves. So that was fun. That was a lot of really good experience. But I did that. Then I think he was actually the one that got me the job at Brook Furniture. And so that's when I met you through the apartment association.
Yeah, getting involved in the apartment association.
Yeah.
So now that we know, not so very long ago, when you got in at 17 by choice, because, you know, I seem to find less people that say that it was by choice is more by accident.
They were in college, somebody knew somebody, it was supposed to be a part-time gig.
And then lifetime goes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've had different experiences in different areas, but pretty much all within the multifamily space. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're doing what now? So
apartment locating.
And
relocation. That's my favorite.
Okay.
So relocation is kind of the sector within apartment locating, and it's where, you know, all these Fortune 500 companies hire college graduates, or they transfer somebody from New York or LA or Chicago or wherever it is, and they sometimes have a day to find a place to live. Sometimes it's hours.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of them that have never been to Dallas before.
Really?
And so, believe it or not,
Wow.
I remember specifically one guy just graduated from college. I think he was on spring break actually. And he came in with his mom, and they literally had 4 hours to find him a place to live.
Wow, that's some stress.
And he'd never been here before. So yeah, it's a tight time frame for sure.
Absolutely. I definitely didn't know until I moved to Dallas what that was like, you know, to have to go through and find an apartment and all that goes into it.
Discover neighborhoods.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was very fortunate to have you as my friend and then go, oh, you do locate? Oh,
by the way. Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people, you and I have had numerous conversations, but a lot of people don't understand, all the things that locators do for them. And I just had this conversation the other day with someone that was from New York, and there, the resident, the tenant, they like to say.
Pays for a realtor.
Correct. To do this. And I was like, WTF, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. I was like, and so we just compared, well, not here in Texas, that's not how it goes. So it'll probably be a whole other podcast about the different laws, but
for sure.
I definitely got a glimpse of, the fact that I was blessed to have you as a friend that has, since I've started moving all over Dallas, DFW, that you've always been my go-to person. But a lot of people don't know.
I think there's a common misconception about what apartment locators do.
Yeah.
And I think with any industry, there are varying levels of that. But my favorite part, because I was always the new kid at my school, I went to 5 high schools. I moved around a ton with a single mom. So my favorite part is just really kind of helping ease that transition and helping people.
Yeah.
So I've got a guy right now. He graduated from Princeton. He moved here into his first apartment, his first job ever. He's never leased an apartment before.
Wow.
So he literally did not even have a car. He is biking from the Trinity Groves area to downtown every day to go to work, and he's happy to do it.
Yeah. He's
But
not from Texas.
clearly. But also, finding the bike paths, being able to educate them on how far the distance is, what that looks like, what traffic patterns are. I mean, I personally dive deep just because I really enjoy that, and I want to help people have the full understanding of what they're getting into. I mean, anybody can sell you on leasing an apartment once you get inside, but oftentimes they need to be educated on the neighborhood before they even get there.
And if it meets their needs, otherwise they won't stay at that apartment community.
Absolutely. And needs change from year to year.
Absolutely.
So that exact client I'm meeting this weekend, and he's now decided to buy a car and is changing jobs and is moving out to Las Colinas, and
we'll use you again.
And so we're trying to discover that area now and figure out, what looks different and
Las Colinas
how
looks way different than when I first moved here back in 2003 or 4.
Me as well. I mean, I worked out there in the 90s, and I remember a resident coming into the property that I worked at that was Valley View Lane at the time and showing us the plans for 190 going in.
Wow.
And telling us when it went in, you wouldn't be able to see the property anymore. It would lose its drive-by focus. I mean, I feel like I've been there for a minute to see these things unfold, and happen, which is fun.
I know that from just our conversations that you and I have talked about doing something, whether it's a class or a webinar about how to work with locators.
Ooh, a webinar is a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. A podcast, another podcast.
Yeah.
But on a high level, because you just answered the question about what you like the most about doing the work that you do. But
helping others.
Yeah, and you do go above and beyond, I would say, I've never used anyone else, but from the things that I've heard, the perceptions of, a lot of people don't know, or they're not educated, or they've had a bad experience or whatever. So I think putting more information out there about how to work with a locator and do's and don'ts, it would be great. What is the most
misconception?
Correct. Yes.
I think a lot of people think that we kick back and eat bonbons with our feet on the desk and checks fly through the door. And oftentimes people don't realize that we may communicate with a client 6 months to a year before we ever meet them. And, communication is what forges that relationship, but it's time consuming. We answer our phone 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for the most part, unless we're completely knocked out asleep. But we're always on. And I think that's the differentiation between us and a property. And that's why it's so important for us to work together as a property to kind of fill in those gaps.
Yeah. I think that there are a few locators that have ruined the batch, ruined that conception of, because not everybody is always on, and there's some that might kick back, even though that's not you and or the people you work with.
Right. But there's definitely some bad eggs out there, but for all the bad eggs, there's also equally people like me who have been in the industry for, I'm going on 30 years now, who are clearly invested, who build relationships and work that way, and it's very important to do that.
Absolutely.
To maintain those relationships and then forge new ones as well.
Absolutely. And you do a good job on both sides, I feel.
Thank you.
Like on the property level with the surrounding neighborhoods, whether it's restaurants, boutiques, services, and then also the resident as well. That's people keep.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just the place that you're going to put your sofa. It's where you go to the grocery store. How am I going to walk my dog now that I live in a high rise? I've never done that before. I may have never lived in an apartment before.
Absolutely.
What am I going to do when I have a 12-hour day and my dog needs to be let out? So it's all those things. Exactly.
Joanie.
Yeah.
So what would you tell somebody that would be interested in getting into, whether it's the multifamily industry or the locating business, which is kind of both, but
call me. Call me so we can chat. It takes a little bit longer to build your business than I think a lot of people think. With 100,000 people a year moving here and almost 1 million that have relocated in the past decade to Dallas-Fort Worth, which is a ton.
Wow. I remember a stat from a long time ago that 40,000 people in the summertime a day or a month. I'm sure it's increased, but that's way old.
In June 2013 or 14, I believe it was something like 1,400 people a day were moving to Dallas. And it's roughly 80,000 a year moving to Dallas-Fort Worth, but we've had 1 million people move here in the past 10 years, which has definitely changed the landscape of multifamily apartments, the demand, the growth, how quickly we grow, what a lease-up policy looks like, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And with all of that, and I think 37,000 units under construction right now, we're still at 95% occupancy.
Wow.
So I think for people that live here, the landscape has changed a little bit more. And if you live here, you wouldn't necessarily be aware of this, other than the line getting longer at the grocery store or traffic being a little bit more complicated.
Oh my gosh, don't even get started on traffic. 75. Ooh-wee. It used to be
true.
635 was a bear. Now
there's a toll for that.
Yeah, now there's a toll for that. Absolutely. Jeez. I'm going to circle back around to.
So back to your question. I think it takes a little bit longer to get invested. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but I think it can be if you're invested in yourself, the industry, educating yourself and your clients, and you want to provide a full-circle solution to them, it's a very rewarding position and relationship to have. I love when my clients invite me to their weddings, or just last Saturday I went to one who relocated from New York, her birthday party. And I mean, that's lovely for me to be able to see and witness and go through all those things and the stages of people's lives. So it's very rewarding in that aspect, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah,
it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. A lot of people, I think, with our industry see a lot of people getting into real estate and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to make $1 million my first year. That's not, I mean, it's like anything, you build on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you build the relationships, period.
And as the relationships happen, the money follows, just like with any relationship-based business, I feel like.
And it's a process, for sure. But would you say the association helped a lot with that when you first started, to network with not just...
Absolutely. I remember in 1990, my property manager said, all right, girls, you're going to get gussied up. We're going to the apartment association happy hours, and I want my property to be the number one that has all of her employees show up to this. And I kind of just was following along with whatever she said.
Yeah.
But then I realized that was just another layer of creating relationships. And then, when you create strategic relationships with other supply partners, you help each other.
So my one standing question to the podcast is, what would you tell your younger self?
Much younger self? I would say have more fun. Don't take life so seriously. Do something to create every day, and always, always give back.
What do you mean, do something to create every day?
Art, ceramics, painting, photography. I think that really helps. I know for me, at least, it helps balance the stress of everyday life and then just bring more joy into your life. And it also, I think, is really good at problem solving. So when I create, I step away from the frantic, oh my God, I got to fix a problem brain to, well, this is kind of fun. And then before you know it, there's a solution. So
that you weren't even paying attention to, because your mind is relaxed. And focus on something that's creative and fun.
Exactly.
I definitely agree with that. It's something.
It's a great stress relief.
Yeah, we had to learn later in life.
I think it was always there, but now the desire for me is definitely to cultivate it and keep it front and center.
Yeah.
Just because it does help so many ways. And it's fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, that is great advice to your younger self. I'm still working on that, but...
What advice would you give your younger self? I mean, that's such a great question.
Yeah.
There's so many answers.
Mine comes in stages of, from the 20s. Don't be so attached to falling in love and getting into a relationship, you know, because in my 20s, I just wasn't.
It was the goal?
Yeah. I wasn't comfortable with myself, and then I wasn't comfortable being alone, you know. I felt that everybody else had a boyfriend or whatever, and I did when I was in high school, but then, you know, always on, like, it didn't work out very well, so I was always on the lookout for, you know, a boyfriend. And then in my 30s, it changed, obviously. I became very comfortable with myself, and it was more about, like, I would tell myself work-life balance, because that's when, you know, I started my business.
They don't teach that in school.
No, they don't teach a lot of things in school.
Yeah.
But yeah, the work-life balance.
And how do you achieve that? I know we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah. Well, back then, so in my 30s, to be in the moment, like, the work-life balance was being okay with if everybody else was done and not wanting to work anymore, that it's okay that I took a couple hours or the whole weekend. You know, it took a long time for me to be comfortable in not doing something on the weekend that was work related.
Not working on the weekends.
If I work on the weekends now, it's just because it's organic or it happens. It's not because I feel like it's necessary.
Or you have to.
Or I have to, absolutely correct. And then in my 40s, it's being comfortable with the fact that my plan, like, I had this, you know, big old grandiose plan, you know, in my 30s, and it didn't work out because God always has something else planned for you when you make plans. Yeah, something better for sure. So I think getting comfortable with not judging myself and not being comfortable with also not judging others. You know, I was usually pretty good at not, you know, but everybody does it, you know.
Right.
So both ways, and then being okay with it not being perfect. You know, and my plan, you know, right on point, you know.
It's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot to learn that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think as we get older, you're constantly learning, you know, becoming more self-aware, you know, in my late 30s was very eye-opening. I think that any course, any meditation, anything you can do to help you find that self-awareness, I would highly recommend to my younger self to have done earlier.
Yeah, if we knew then what we know now.
Yeah. And I think as great of a mom as my mom is and was, the things that she gave me was the work ethic. You gotta go, you know, you gotta be doing something, success, you know, like, you know, do it yourself, don't wait on people. And so the not sitting still, like, she was never taught the self-awareness. She was never taught that, like, there were so many things that she taught me that, you know, self-awareness and those little other work-life balance things that she didn't know about. Like, so how could she teach me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, nobody gives parents a book.
That generation
for sure.
probably didn't ever receive that information.
Absolutely.
And they might be learning from us now.
Oh,
you know?
I hope so.
It's part of the process.
Yeah, I hope so. My mom always makes jokes, but, you know, the things I'm surprised at what she does learn or repeats because, you know, she has no short-term memory. You know, that's the awful thing about dementia. But, you know, she's got a great sense of humor that she likes to throw things in there every once in a while. And I'm like, wow, where did that come from? But okay, Mom.
Did you pull that out of your pocket? That's cute.
So, yeah. So tell listeners how they can get a hold of you if they're interested in learning more about what you do and how you do it.
Email me, Joanie@legacylocators.com or call me, 214-557-8743.
And connect with you on social media.
Yeah, connect with me on social media. Facebook,
Instagram. Yeah, you're doing a great job on all those, by the way.
Trying.
We just got to get you on LinkedIn.
Well, I am on LinkedIn. However, it's difficult to manage all those platforms when you're driving all the time.
I know. Well, we're going to work on that one for you.
Exactly. I need an assistant that can do the drive-bys with me.
There you go. Anyone you heard that, maybe you could do a little mentorship assistant-wise.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now accepting applications.
Well, thank you again, Joanie. I really appreciate your time. And
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it was fun.
And do this little interview with you. And to the listeners, remember to share Joanie's episode if you find value in it. And while you're there, please rate the podcast while you're listening. And until next week, stay positive. Remember, sharing is caring. Thanks, Joanie.
Bye.